Hello and welcome to day 2 of How to Walk the Wheel. And we have a treat for you today because today we're going to be speaking about our 6 stages of embodiment and bringing in the archetypes and the lines, the 6 lines. To day 2. Before we begin, I'd love us to tune into walking the wheel. And to do that, I have a short intro video clip that if you're on our walking the wheel calls on Tuesdays when I'm hosting, I usually play it in the beginning. So it just goes through the Rave Mandala and it highlights and activates all of the gates that are inside of the body graph. And so as you're doing that, I encourage you to bring your presence to the present. Bring your presence to the present and bring your future self here, bring your past self here, and just allow yourself to sink into the now moment with us, because we are going to bring you new information that you haven't heard before and definitely going to be mentally stimulating. But if you allow it to land in your body, it's going to start to make sense to you and it won't need to be a mental thing. But let's take these first few moments to breathe and to center and to anchor. So here we go. Ah, sometimes that makes me emotional. It feels like a great connection to the cosmos, which reminds me of a connection to God, the universe. And if I can trust anything, it's the rhythm of something that's bigger than me. And I'm so glad that I found this work. I have no idea why I'm feeling so emotional, but I think this morning has been so fast and so busy that I haven't sat with the fact that I think Bella and I have just finished completing probably something that has been really significant in our partnership. We made the 64 archetypes, and now we're bringing you the 6 stages of embodiment, which bring in the lines, and it feels really complete to me. And so this is like the first time we get to share it, and I'm sure it will be perfected and it will evolve over time, but it just feels like we're bringing in the last piece. So it's very cool. Thank you for joining us today. So let's get back into where we left off. Did you want to say anything, Bella, before I pull up the slides? How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling grounded.
Day 2 of How to Walk the Wheel with Unlock Your Design. So today we will focus on the archetypes, the lines, and the 6 stages of embodiment. But before we begin, let's remind ourselves what's in transit as we are here present, as this is being recorded. We have the nourisher that is in transit. Let's look at where we're at by looking at the sky.
So here
27, line 5. Yeah, go ahead, Bella, bring it in.
No, you can, I don't have to.
I have nothing to say. Just wanted to say where we're at. Is there anything significant here that we should make note of?
And so this is a snapshot of the sky where you're going to see that we mapped the sky with the 64 archetypes and also with the 12 zodiac signs. So that's a depiction, a model of the sky. And then on the outside, you have the house system, but that's depending on where you're in the world. So that's not really something that you will use when you look at the neutrino weather chart. On the inside, you have a lot of symbols, and those are the planets. And then you have the same thing where we're mapping all those planets in the body graph. So we can look at it from the astrological perspective of the wheel, the Rave Mandala, and the body graph. So I'm actually going to start with the body graph because that's what most of you are coming in for. So we have one channel that is defined, which is the channel of initiation, the shaman, awakening, going from the ego center to the G center, the identity center. So that combination of self and coming into true self. And we have this channel that is activated by Neptune that just went into the 25, the gate of the spirit or the love of the spirit, and we call it the innocent. So it's to be initiated by life. The shocks of life are leading to even more innocence. And then the 51 is thunder, and it's here to bring in the lightning, and we don't really know when it's going to come. This is part of the individual circuitry, so it comes in pulses. So you can try to take a picture of lightning, right? But you don't really know when it's going to come. And then we can look at just quickly the wheel, and we see that we have two things where we have meetings of planets, and that's in Aries first, the first sign, where we have the North Node, we have Chiron, and we have Mercury that actually is stationing direct today. And that's the first sign, so it has to do with self. And Chiron there, the wounded healer. So there is something with that initiation that has to do with our identity and how we're moving on, and also where maybe that collectively and individually, where there has been a wound there of not being able to initiate or being stuck or not having the energy, the fire. And then every 14 years, we have Jupiter and Uranus coming together. They came together 14 years ago, 13 years ago in Pisces, and now they came together on April 20th in gate 23 in Taurus. So that is also a new cycle starting, and a new cycle that's connected to the earth plane. We have fixed earth in Taurus, and also our body. It's also a center, or it's also a sign that has to do with self-worth. It's the second sign, so it's also early in the wheel. So a lot is individual right now. So it's really about coming into our own power, our own true self, our own self-worth. And from that, we are going to be able to initiate completely new things for short cycles and long cycles. And this is something that you can do every day. And some things are going to change really quickly, like the moon. It's going a whole turning around in 1 month or 29 days, and the sun is taking a year. So those are the two cycles that we are usually feeling a lot. We are feeling the moon when it comes to the emotional realm. We are still, we can see here in the very last degrees of Scorpio. We have gone through those Scorpio gates from the full moon in the 28th 2 days ago, 2.5 days ago, then through those gates, the 44, the 1, the 43, and now the 14. So it's very soon going to go into Sagittarius, and probably you're going to feel a bit more of that optimism, that fire, that passion. So the moon is very much the subjective experience and the emotional experience, and the sun is more there to show us what's there a little bit more objectively, and it's shining a lot of light, you could say, on wherever it is. And that's why when we say walking the wheel, we're walking the wheel with the sun. We're not just subjectively going in the ups and downs of the emotions that kind of hit us all differently depending on our makeup. But the sun is more that center, and it's also the beautiful thing that in 1 year we get to visit all the archetypes, and also what we're going to do today, the 6 lines of all the archetypes. So that's what we're going to focus on today. So this is just an overview, again, to show you that we are actually working with and aligning with what's alive. We don't really care about the past. We don't really care about the future. It's not predictive astrology, and it's not too much going back and just looking at the past and your natal chart and all that kind of things. If we are aligned in the now and we understand the weather, that's really where empowerment comes from.
And maybe with practice, you'll be able to look at this neutrino conditioning weather and speak to what's alive in the field like Bella did. So with practice, with time, and with commitment to your connection to each of these pieces, you'll be able to bridge them all and make a logical, coherent storyline out of where the stars are in the sky, where the planets are in the sky. So we're going to take it slow and walk the wheel with the sun. And let's focus on the sun. And that's what walking the wheel is for us as you are beginning this journey, walking the wheel with the sun. Just a close-up of gate 27. It's a little bit blurry, but you can see that it's in line 5. So the black markers that you see on here, they move as the planets move. So you can see it's moving towards its completion of the transit of the 27. And in true 5th line style, we're going to bring in something practical, something useful, and something pragmatic that you can use when you're working with the archetypes. And we're doing it in a masterclass teaching style. So it's perfect for where we're at. Freedom Planet.
So just the mathematics of it again, when you look at the lines, they are the decimals, we could say, in the wheel. So if we have 365 days and we have 64 gates, we're dividing those days with the gates, which means that we have the sun in one gate for approximately 6 days, and there are 6 lines. So it's going to shift within a gate, and it's not only the sun, everything shifts in those decimals or those lines, and that's where we have in each line a certain flavor or tone or element of that specific archetype, and that's what's moving all the time. The book of changes, the hexagrams, we go through the lines from the first line to the 6th line in each archetype, in each hexagram, and moving on like that. So there are 384 lines that we're going through every year. You're muted, Ashley. I can't hear you. What's happening?
You are 6 stages of embodiment. We want to give you some background info so that you're going to understand some of the things that we are bringing to you.
Actually, your sound went away for a little while, I think, because it's also somebody. Okay.
Is it back?
Now it's back, but yeah, it was gone for like 30 seconds or something, maybe.
Oh,
So
maybe because I muted and unmuted. Okay, I can come back. So let's come into how to walk the wheel again. There's many ways to walk the wheel. We're going to teach you about the 6 stages of embodiment. But before we do that, we're going to give you some background info so that you understand some of the concepts we're bringing to you, some of the correspondences we're bringing to you when we are explaining the 6 stages. So we'll take a few moments to explain each of these. In the first place we'll go is the 6 lines. I'm going to give an overview of this, Bella.
So this is what I was just speaking to, the 6 lines, where we're starting on the bottom, the first line, and we're moving through the lines from bottom up. And then we're going from bottom up. So for each hexagram, we're going from bottom up, where the bottom is the foundation. And then there is a certain quality, tone, element for each one of them, and that's what we're going to go in today. So the sixth line is always what bridge over to the first line of the next hexagram, and actually there is a connection there. And sometimes we just feel like, oh, but this archetype, the 3, for example, and the 42 comes before the 3, and we might think they're completely different. One is ending and one is beginning, but actually the sixth line, the top line of the 42, is already looking at the first line of the next hexagram. So if you are somebody, for example, in your own chart that has a lot of 6 lines, you definitely would like to look in the Rave Mandala, what gate comes next, because it's already going to be a connection from your 6th line in any hexagram, in any gate, to the next one.
Everything is bridging, everything is connecting, and we can't have one without the other. And so we need the first line foundation, we need the third line trial and error, we need the fifth line solutions, we need all of the different elements of these lines. And so there's no best one either. Just because something's at the top of a hexagram doesn't mean it's the best versus the bottom versus the middle. They all have a inherent worth and value because they're part of a whole. And without that part, it's incomplete. We also want to orient you with the elements. These are the symbols of the elements that you can see here. And we've got earth, water, fire, air, ether, and spirit. And as you can see, there's 6 of them. There's 6 lines. You might start to see a pattern here. We can go deeper into this later, but that's that. And we have the chakras. So if you're familiar with the Hindu chakra system, you know that we have 7 chakras: root, sacral, solar plexus, heart, throat, third eye, and crown. If you've been with us for a while, you've also probably heard us connecting these chakras to the human design centers as well. There are 9 human design centers and 7 chakras, but some of the chakras correspond to multiple ones because of a split in the solar plexus and the spleen, or a split in the G and the heart center. So and archetypes. So we do archetypal work here, if you didn't know. So it's easier to look at something in terms of giving it human qualities, because we are social beings. We like to connect with each other. And when you can take an abstract thing and give it a personality, it helps you connect with it. It also helps you connect with it within yourself too. But when we show you the 6 stages of embodiment, we're going to introduce you to some public resources, introduce you to some membership resources, and give you some practical ways of using these stages in your life. You don't necessarily have to go through Unlock Your Design to practice these 6 stages of embodiment. There are many ways to do it, but we do give you options so that you know we have resources available to you so that you can get all of your needs met in terms of going through these embodiment stages. Oh, we ready to bring in the 6 stages of embodiment? Anything to share before we come into stage 1?
Yeah, so to clarify, as we're walking the wheel, we know that we're walking through the 64 hexagrams or the 64 archetypes. And what happens often, especially when we start with the gene keys, is that we have the book of the gene keys, or a lot of you are using the 64 Doors website where there's the description of all the archetypes. So it's easy to find, okay, what is the archetype? However, in the gene key chart, we're going to see that we have keynotes for the decimal or the line. And then we might wonder, what does it mean that I have 42.5 in my pearl, but I have 42.1 in my purpose sphere, and I have 42 a third time in the third line in my IQ? are they the same or are they different? So what we are wanting to do today, and also why Ashley was saying that it's starting to become complete, is that we are giving you a way, an archetypal way of understanding the lines. And today we're not going to use it specifically to go into your personal chart and say this is what it means to have it in a specific sphere. We're going to look at the lines in a general sense so that you can marry the line with the archetype. And I would say that if you want to have a little bit more inquiry as you're listening to us, if you remember the two lines in your profile, so you might be a 1-3 or a 2-4 or 4-6 or any of the other profiles, there are 12 of them, those two lines are probably going to be something that you resonate with. Because as we're speaking about the 6 stages of embodiment, we are saying that these are the lines that we go through, like we said before, in each and every hexagram. So there are about 6 days that we are going to be, or with the sun, if we walk with the sun, we're going to be 6 days in each archetype, in each hexagram. And actually the energy of each day, of each slot, that is a little bit less than 24 hours, is going to have a flavor of that stage. And we could also take it out of the wheel and just speak about processes in general, because we do archetypal work, yes, but we also always look at things as processes. Nothing is stagnant. Everything is always changing. So looking at this in terms of processes, we can see that those stages, it always starts with the foundation. It always starts with the basic, and then it always goes through different things until we go through and we are complete with the process. So this is also the stages, the process that you can look at anything, which is a little bit similar as in astrology when we say cardinal, fixed, mutable. It starts somewhere, takes up the pace and continues, and then at some point it's going to change and mutate into something else. Well, this is also a process. It starts somewhere and it develops and it moves on somewhere else. So look at it both from the big perspective, and then it can be applied to different things, your own chart, even the energy of how we walk the wheel with the sun, and many other things as well.
These stages of embodiment, like Bella said, are going to help you be able to access the different nuances and flavors of the archetype. So if you utilize these 6 stages of embodiment, say, for example, when something is in transit, you can take around 1 day-ish per day of the transit to really dig into each of these flavors and see what comes to you. And obviously, every year you're going to have another opportunity to go through it. And even when it's not in transit, you can still move through these 6 stages of embodiment. And yeah, super excited to bring this to you. So let's begin at the bottom of the hexagram. Let's begin at line 1. Let's begin in stage 1. Okay. Bella, we're going to go back and forth with the stages and reading the content on it. Yeah?
I feel
okay.
open
Okay.
to whatever.
I'm excited. Okay. So the first stage is explore. You're going to recognize that for each of these stages, you're going to have some symbols that are in the header. The first one's going to show you which line it is in the hexagram structure. The second one's going to be associated with a chakra. And the third one's going to be associated with an element. We are also going to bring up the archetype that we're dealing with. So this archetype for our first stage is called the architect. And like I said, this is line 1. It's associated with the root chakra, the element of earth, and it is also associated with the physical realm. Each of these archetypes are going to have a purpose. So each of these stages will have something they're focused on. So in terms of the stage of explore and the architect, the purpose is to build your foundation through investigation and inquiry so that you can create stability, security, certainty, and self-empowerment and bring something new into the world. And then some ways that you can explore in stage 1 is you can read the gene key chapter. You can research the human design gate. You can look up the I Ching hexagram description. and uncover details related to the zodiac sign. You can also go through the Unlock Your Design Archetype course, which is a paid course, and stage 1 of the workbook. So if you have been in our courses before, you'll know that we have PDFs, workbooks that accompany each of the archetype courses. And these workbooks have evolved over the years, but have updated to really include all of the stages. So it has stage 1 through stage 6 in it, and it'll give you ways to dig into your chart to see how it correlates with how you correlate with the archetype. Do you have it activated? Do you not have it activated? More details about the gate, the gene key, etc. And so we go into bridging the gap between the systems and give you a framework to be able to collect all of the details, all of the data, so that the investigation process is as easy as possible. Because some of you are not first line predominant, and maybe going into the explore phase is not something that's super natural or easy to you. And so having something organized, having a framework for you to be able to investigate is going to be beneficial for you, especially if you don't have a lot of strengths in that first line. Those of you that are 4-1s, 5-1s, 1-3s, 4-1s, any of those first lines in your main profile, the strength is that you like to go in the details, and it's a place you want to go into. During this process with the 6 stages of embodiment, when you get to a line that you're not familiar with or you don't have a lot of, encouraging you to go into that, because that's going to give you a complete hamburger with the buns and the lettuce and the burger and everything that goes inside. You're going to have everything. You're not missing anything. So the purpose of the explore phase is to really investigate and to get into the details of things and to collect them and to study them and to go into the basement and get your student hat on and get your glasses on and read things, get into things. And so that would be the purpose of explore. And the last thing on this list is you can also walk on the earth, and you can try walking meditations or doing some of your work calls while you're walking outside. So get connected to the earth. Anything to add, Bella, with this overview?
What's important, because this is, of course, we're speaking about here going into the details of the archetype and going into the material. And I feel that it's also important in a general sense where we're starting anything in the beginning to connect with the physical realm, because that's where we are anchoring it. And that's really, once it's anchored, when it comes through the physical realm and it's felt in the body, that's also where we started. So it has to do with connecting with the physical realm, with the root chakra, with the earth. And there are some things that can come up when it comes to these kind of base red root that it feels like we don't have the foundation. It doesn't feel stable. We don't know enough. So a lot of the things that can come up in stage 1, it's like, I don't know enough. So here the keynote is insecurity, because we don't feel that we have the foundation. But that's really the genius of this first stage, is to build that foundation, is to be the architect that says, the plan that I'm going to make for this thing that I'm building is going to be stable, sustaining the whole rest of the process. So that's important here, and nothing better than connect like both feet on the ground. We know that the first sign in astrology is Taurus, that's fixed earth. So that kind of energy of Taurus, of building that foundation and feeling the earth, and even using the senses to connect to earth and the physical.
Okay. Here, we're going to give you some public resources that go along with the explore phase of things. So like Bella mentioned previously, we have our 64 Doors website, and you can check that out. Let's see if this plays while we do stuff. Okay, cool. So this is just showing you an overview of that website. You can also join our Zodiac Initiation live events. Those are monthly, happening in 2024. Don't know what we're doing in 2025 or onward, but you can join that series by going to that bit.ly link. And don't try to click on the screen because it won't take you anywhere. It is not active. Okay, so yeah, this is what's on the page. Lots of resources, lots of things for you to dig into. We've got paid resources and free resources on there, and some featured things where we did interviews with people, artwork from Jane Addams, which are always amazing, and any related videos. we will be adding more to that as we go through the years, but it's a living library for sure. How can I move forward? There, oh, sorry. Here are some paid resources. So you can purchase the archetype courses. They're $55 each. If an archetype is in transit, meaning the 27 is in transit, it's connected to the 28, which is its programming partner. It's connected to the 50, which is its harmonic gate. You use the code deep dive and you get 50% off of those archetypes that are in transit. If you'd like to explore those archetype courses, you can go to the bit.ly link, bit.ly/archetype-courses. And inside, we have lots and lots of resources for you to dig into. You can just check it out. We might show you a preview of it on Monday when we have our celebration and giveaway call, but I don't have that prepared for you right now. We also have updated workbooks that we are diligently working on updating for 2024. They are proving to be pretty lengthy, 74 pages. Maybe at some point we'll put them on Amazon so that you can print them out and not use your printer ink or send it to Staples and pay a bunch of money. So we will see what we will do with those later. But for now, there is lots and lots of things for you to dig into if you go into the archetype courses. These are included in the Inner Circle membership. I'm always going to be mentioning the Inner Circle membership because it's our go-to place. This is where we walk the wheel. And so just be prepared for that as we're going through all these phases. I'll give you free resources. I'll give you paid resources, and we'll also give you ideas for what you can do for each of these phases. But if you join the Inner Circle membership, we do have archetype courses that we unlock every month. So 5 to 6 per zodiac season. And that means that you'll get that course included. And the Inner Circle membership is $64 a month. And the archetype courses are $55. So if you do the math, it's a really great deal. Plus you get the foundations course and the vault, and you get zodiac season master classes as well. So there's lots included in that, and that'll really help support you on your journey with the archetypes as you're walking the wheel. Lots of information. The first line's dream, but you don't need to use all of it. You can be picky, and that's where we'll move into the second line. Anything else you'd like to add or speak to, Bella, in terms of the stage 1 explore?
No, I think we're good.
Yay. Bella's going to bring in stage 2. So here we are.
So stage 2, line 2, is all about flow. And here we have the water element, we have the sacral chakra, and then you see the hexagram. This is the second line. And this archetype is glowing. We call the archetype the dancer. Line 2, like we said. And here we have everything that I already said. And this is also in the physical realm. So we're going to see that there are 3 different realms. Line 1 and 2 are the physical, the most tangible. And here the purpose for stage 2. To answer the calling of an aligned partner to bring to light those parts of yourself that you're still unaware of and naturally embody more of your genius. And here we have some suggestions, some ways that you can flow. So flow with what's alive in the present moment. Contemplate on relationships with people who have the archetypal energy. So people that have the profile, for example, with a second line in, or a lot of second lines in their complete profile or chart. And pick ways to connect with the archetype that is in transit and flow with it, play with it, be with it. So that could be meditations and visualizations. It could be journaling, intuitive artistic expression, interpretative dance, and somatic movement. And what I do feel is that, of course, there's a relationship in this phase with you and that object of study, we could say, or the archetype that is in transit that you're experiencing. However, human connection can also help a lot with the second line. So even having like a buddy or a study partner. I know I have somebody I worked with here in Sweden in coaching, and he has, with a group of 2 or 3 people, they do weekly calls where they are together geeking away and exploring what's in transit. So it can be really beautiful to have a mirroring, because with the second stage, there's something that wants to come through that's natural, but there can also be unawareness. So important here to be able to have that mirroring and to find the dance. And that's really also sometimes the hard thing with the second line, because it can be those blind spots. And that's why doing it with somebody else where there's already a flow or a great reciprocity can help to find more of what's hidden and what's there.
Here it's about getting into connection and relationship. And if you're not getting into connection or relationship with somebody else to flow with the archetype, flow with this process, then connect to yourself, connect to the inner archetype, connect to nature, connect to something. You're able to be picky about what it is that you are connecting with, but now is the opportunity for you to flow into intimacy and communion with that inner archetype. So if you are in transit with the 27 and it's the nourisher, you're going to want to notice what shows up naturally, because this is the energy that is activated cosmically. It's already showing up in the world. You just have to open your eyes and ears to and your feelers to feel what is the sun, what is the program, what are the cosmos presenting to me, what do I need to look at, because we're in interaction here and we're looking to see what's being mirrored to me that maybe I don't see in myself. It's a great opportunity to see what we did, to see what's hidden beneath, if we dare to go there. Here are some of the public resources we have available. We are doing currently live illuminated archetype readings every other Thursday. So the first one we're going to be doing is May 9th. That one will include the 2 and the 23. And you can attend these to help connect with that archetype that is in someone else's chart. So you'll have someone in front of you that has that, and you'll be able to see how that might show up through them as Bella and I read the chart, weave things together. And that's a great opportunity to also receive feedback as well if you do have that archetype in your chart. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But the free resource is that you can just attend these calls. And you can also find someone who has a similar archetype activation as you. So if you do have, say you have the 27 and it's in your SQ sphere or your unconscious Venus, maybe you'll post in the Facebook group right here and say, I have the 27 in my SQ. Does anybody have it in their SQ? Or maybe the life's work. And then you can get to talking to be like, how am I interpreting this showing up? And you'll be able to give each other feedback and also share together. One-to-one is really great for the second line of flow. You don't dance with 5 people at the same time, you dance with one. You can always switch, it becomes dynamic, but you're dancing with one person. Unless you're doing some cool dance routine and you have a whole group, but that's not the flow we're talking about. Okay. If any of our homies, our tribe, want to post the link to the Gene Key and Human Design group, you can. Also, if you have the Illuminated Archetype reading link, you can as well. But no, you don't have to. I will also post these links on the replay page so that you can come back and get to where you want to go. Okay, lastly, the paid resources. So we also have Illuminate Archetype readings for $64. If you want to come in and get a reading, there's the link for Illuminated Archetype. And you have to have that archetype that's in transit. So the one coming up, you have to have the 2 or the 23. Or it's cool if you have both. If you have both, you can sign up for that. If you're in the inner circle, remember you guys have a code to get you it for $44 and not $64. So also, what is included in the inner circle? Did you want to speak to this, Bella? to the Q&A that you host every month?
Yeah, it's actually something quite intimate because a lot of the people that are in the inner circle are more just going through the resources and doing their own investigation and their own pace. So on the calls, we usually have under 15 people. So there is really this possibility for intimacy. And some of the calls are very fast and intense. And we go in and we look at all the Aries gate, for example. Aries is fiery. There can be a lot of questions. There can be a lot of fire. And then what we just did this week was in Taurus, and suddenly it was very different. We didn't really bring up charts and look at details, but we were more looking at the bigger picture with the conjunction that we just had in Taurus with Uranus and Jupiter. So it's really a space that's created by the people that come. And that's the beautiful thing, that the big Facebook group, for example, it has like so much inspiration, so much connection, like that kind of fourth line style that I like to inspire through. But when we have the meetings in the inner circle, it's more of that kind of dropping in together. And that's why it feels different and valuable, because it's a small group where you have people that are speaking a similar language. And also what I'm noticing is that there is a lot of learning and curiosity around how to bring in astrology. So the part of the language, we could say, that can really help understanding the archetypes, human design, and gene keys that is based on astrology, but sometimes we're not connecting them. So it's also really a way of learning, that which started last year, to learn the astrology part and to have foundational archetypal astrology with the archetypes. And that just makes it so much more rich.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we have two events that happen in the inner circle. One is Bella's Q&A, one is my workshop. And because we're not meeting weekly, we are focusing on the zodiac season. So as you're walking the wheel every week, connecting with the archetype that's in transit, you'll have the opportunity to get feedback and mirroring and things from Bella from the Q&A, and even have your chart pulled up and read. And then we'll be able to practice and play with these archetypes in the zodiac season workshop. So we make sure that even if you're not having opportunities to go into the second line or go into the third line, that we make it possible in the inner circle. And in the inner circle, we have each of these steps. So we make sure that all of it is met. And you can do this on your own. It's just going to take discipline. And you don't have to do it every transit. If you imagine, that doesn't feel natural, does it? Like every single day I've got a task and there's 6 lines and I got to do the second line would not like that. If it's not easy and it doesn't flow, then we don't force it. So here you can decide, I'm going to focus on this archetype because this one is, I don't like it, and I'm going to like it. And so I'm going to go into this and I'm going to use the 6 stages of embodiment, and we're going to meet it at every stage. We're going to meet it at every line. And then hopefully at the end of that, you have some content that you're able to work with, to heal, to integrate, to bring back home to yourself, so that you have a better relationship to this inner archetype, whether you have it activated or not. If you don't have it activated, it's coming to you because you have an interesting relationship with it. Maybe your mother or your father or your abuser or whoever had it. And so you recognize that energy and you're hyper vigilant around that energy. You're like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I like the 21 and the control, and victimization is not fun for me. A lot of these are not fun for people, but you have a couple or a handful that you're like, I don't think I want to dance with you. Those are the ones we encourage you to practice dancing with. But you can also choose the ones you like, just to get to know this process and to play and to flow and to do all those cool things with it. And once you get a handle on this process, you can tackle those harder archetypes. But if you like a challenge, pick a challenging archetype for you. Okay. Speaking of picking challenges, let's go into stage 3. Okay. How are we doing so far? We good? You like it? Is it cool? Is it fun? Is it informative? Play. Play is stage 3. And this is the dynamo archetype. Line 3 in the hexagram. The solar plexus chakra, the element of fire, and the emotional realm. The purpose of the third stage. And the dynamo archetype would be to embrace your dynamic and adventurous nature and allow your inner fire to lead you towards many interactions and experiences. As you navigate the richness of being human, you learn to laugh and appreciate the messiness and magic of life. Let that sink in. Ways to play. We highly encourage movement, moving your body with intention to access the emotional realm within you that's connected to this particular archetype in transit, connecting to your passion, connecting to your pleasure, moving your body, getting your blood pumping is a great way to play with this archetype. We want things moving. We want things transforming. We want things blowing up. We want you trying things out and failing and succeeding and all the things in between. We want all that happening during the play stage. And you can explore the passion that lives within this archetype. For example, what does it care about and what moves it? So when you are focusing on an archetype in transit, you want to start to understand what might it want to do? What might it be interested in? And this comes from all that investigation as well that you did. You can get some ideas based on the investigation. Like you go into circuitry and you figure out that it's tribal and it wants to support the tribe. Maybe it's going to focus on doing things with its tribe or its family because that's what it cares about. You can feel into what center it lives in and try to work in that chakra or that center. There's many things to explore. Let's just say there's many adventures it wants to go on. And inside the workbooks of the archetype courses, we give you examples of how you can play with this archetype. So it takes the guesswork out of it. We give you some ideas. And then let's see if there's something else. Set out on adventures and try activities that the archetype would be interested in. So passion, adventures. Do you want to say anything else about stage 3?
Yeah, so we said fire and emotional realm. So this is really the desire that comes from that solar plexus and that brings you out into the world to play and to sometimes blow things up. And here we have a theme that we didn't mention, which is the bonds made and broken. And that's a discernment that the third line needs to start to have, because sometimes there are interactions that are so intense and so interesting and so valuable in the moment of the interaction. And then you might never need to speak to that person again. You might be traveling and it's 2 days and it's open so much and it's like having you feel and having you experience. And sometimes with a third line in the shadow, it is actually escaping. It's a kind of escape artist. So there, it can also be this of not really wanting to go there or escaping it, or when it starts to burn a little bit with the fire, then there is some kind of distraction, some kind of opting out apathy. And that's what you want to check here. So when the third line plays, it's important to play wholeheartedly until kind of the fire is gone. If you don't even jump into the fire, there is something there that you're usually escaping from. So the line 3 days, it's like the courage of the fire and to go in it totally until the process is consumed, we could say. And that's the desire of the solar plexus, to feel it completely. So that's why this is the dynamo. It has all that dynamite in it, and it's here to actually have it like spark in all kinds of ways and directions.
Yeah, it wants to spark, it wants to burn, it wants to experience, it wants to alchemize. We almost called this one the alchemist. The second line wants to connect and dance. The first line wants to learn. This one, it wants to have experiences and different experiences. It's not going to have the same dance partner. I think the third line also gets bored. Play with lots of friends. Play with lots of different people, not even friends. Play with the world.
And I also want us to think about where we are in the process, where we start with the densest and we go up to less dense, that it's not necessarily from the mind that you will get the answers here. So starting with the third line, when is the process over? Like, when is the interaction over? When is it time to go your own way and to have the next experience? It's not a choice that comes from the mind. Oh, now it's done. It's really has to do with that emotional realm, with the solar plexus, with the emotion of that, the desire that brings you in to have the experience. So it's an alchemy that's happening, and then the alchemy, it is alchemized, and then it's ready for something else. But it comes from the emotional realm. And when we speak about the first line and the second line, it's also connected to where it is, it is grounded. So looking at the chakras, the second line is that sacral response, and that feedback. And when there is no sacral response to dance, to merge, to feel each other, to be in passion anymore, well, then probably then there's another dance that's awaiting. And similarly with the first line, it's even if it's detail, and even it's an architect that is like building the plan with the details, it's not a mental process. It's really something that comes from deep within, that feels almost like, if I don't bring this out, if I don't understand this, if I don't go deep in this, then it feels so uncomfortable. It's like it's something that needs to be brought up. So the understanding that comes, the security, the foundation that comes from the first line, playing with something, is really something that emerges from deep within. It's not a mental thing of like, check, I did the workbook and now everything is clear. No, it's something that like comes and emerges from like deep of that earth realm, of that root, which is even like down into the earth. It might not even feel like it's you. You create something new with those details, these resources that haven't been seen, explained in that way before. So where we have been so far in the process, it's really connected to the more dense that comes from the body, it comes now from the emotional realm, and that kind of alchemical fire that we find in the third stage.
Here's to burning it up. Woohoo! Ways to play. We have a paid resource. We don't have any other resources to play except if you're interacting with us and laughing and following along and doing stuff during these calls. I don't know if that's considered play, because we want you to be in movement. We want you to have action centered around it. But we are going to be launching a live walking the wheel archetype experience. We've never done this before. We're going to be using this process. We're going to start May 8th. So this is going to be walking the wheel with the translator archetype, because that is who will be in transit. And we're going to use the 6 stages of embodiment. This is only $23 this first time around. I have no idea how much it's going to cost later, but it's $23 right now. It's going to include the translator archetype course, which is $55. And then it's also going to include a how to walk the wheel course, which is going to include these replays, because these replays are not going to stay up forever. They're actually going to go into a paid masterclass. So you'll have your chance to watch these replays, but eventually they're going to go behind the scenes. Day one might stay up for free. We're still talking about that, but for sure, this is a bundle as you are learning to walk the wheel through experience. And so we're also going to have different live events that are going to help fulfill, explore, flow, play, and the other 3. So we're going to make sure that all those boxes are checked as we are digging into the translator archetype. And then if you're in the inner circle, you have this, so don't buy it. We also have our archetype workplay shop. Next week, we're going to have it with me on Wednesday. We're going to go into Taurus season and the archetypes, and I'll be hosting a workshop in there. And it's relevant to the archetypes that are in transit because they're Taurus archetypes. So you come to this workshop not to focus on one archetype, but to focus on either a couple or Taurus season and the themes of Taurus season in general, because it helps you really get into the vibe of Taurus season, which is connected to the archetypes that are in transit. So that's an opportunity to play together. It's going to help you express and begin to embody these inner archetypes. It's deepening through play and practice. So hope you'll join us for that. I also really hope you'll join us for the Walking the Wheel experience, because that's where this is all leading to. You get that announcement early. We'll see how it lands. We'll play around with it. Did it land? No? Are you joining? Yes? No? We'll give you more information on that later. Bella will bring in stage 4.
So the archetype in stage 4, we call it the influencer, is the 4th line of the hexagram. This is the heart chakra. The element is air, and the realm is emotional. And the purpose of the influencer archetype: to feel the truth within and connect with those that are ready to be your allies. As you share from your heart, you influence others to trust. And that is you can see that as an overall perspective. It's big. And in the other ones, it was a little bit more details, because when we are in the first 3 stages, we're looking at the first 3 chakras, and those are very much me. And like I should say, investigating, exploring for yourself, flowing with somebody, but to get more aware of yourself and your genius, and then following your desire and learning what works, what doesn't work, and playing in the material realm and having successes and failures. And that's even like when you go into play with an archetype or something else, the lower chakras are more kind of tuning into these specific things. And then when we come to the upper trigram of the hexagram and we come to stage 4, 5, 6, is going to be more including more transpersonal perspective. So some of the things that you can do here, where it has to do with finding that connection, that union, and also that sharing from the heart or the truth, it is to feel into and identify the truth that lives at the heart of the archetype that you're exploring. And with anything in life, it's like, right? Feeling into what's at heart of it, what's the truth of it. And that's what allows us to not do things superficially, because this is true connection that opens the heart, that opens the chest, that opens more than just like knowing the details, or this is the next tier, we could say, the upper trigram. So reaching out to others, and this, of course, with archetypes, can be in the Gene Keys or human design communities, and share what you are exploring with the archetype in transit. And there can be community calls, and often where there's a true dialogue. The 4th line really wants connections. It might not really like the talking stick calls, where it's like, oh, there's no therapeutic, there's no way of really interacting. So when it comes to the 4th stage, it's like the network is really when there's like cross communication that it becomes interesting. So a gathering where there is a discussion, a dialogue, an intent, the truth that is coming across, and possibly also something new. You have the foundation and you're bringing something new that is a synthesis of whatever findings have been there. And that's also, for me, I believe, when I was working with the descriptions of the archetype, it was partly of like, I loved what Richard had done, I loved what Ra had done, I loved what Rosie had done, and then there's something new that comes from those foundations that are already laid, so that we can connect everything even more. And then, do you have one more here? Or is that
That's the last one. Yeah, so allowing yourself to feel into the truth that lives inside of you. You may not know it initially, but this is the place that you find it in, because of all the alchemization that has been happening in the trial and error process of the 3rd line, connecting with things, researching, doing all the things in that personal realm, because the first 3 stages are very personal. This is where we get into the other. This is where we start to have it on a wider, far-reaching zone. And so when we come into share, it is to find that truth that makes you feel so connected to somewhere deep inside of you. And that may come through also the contrast of other people sharing their truth. And you're like, oh, that's not for me. Like, which one touches you? Which one reaches you? Other truths can also touch you and reach you. And that's why sharing is really amazing, because it's where we take what we've learned and bring it out into the world and share it. And that's why the influencer can influence people, because when you feel the passion that comes from that emotional realm and the truth and the purpose that is coming out from the heart, it lands, it resonates, it feels true. People can feel when you are speaking your truth or you are just parroting someone else's truth. Feels like it lands and that it's deeply personal. So hopefully you all find your truth and unite with it. This phase is called share, but we can also feel into the term unite, because it is about uniting with that truth that's deep inside of you and sharing it. So like we mentioned on the things you can do, we host live Walking the Wheel transit calls every Tuesday. It provides you opportunity to connect with the 64 archetypes and others through focused discussions. We usually have mini teachings in the beginning where we are helping you understand the foundation of the archetypal energy. And the replays are unavailable for the public, so you have to be live. But if you're in the inner circle or you have the associated archetype course, those replays can be found in there. For example, the 23 archetype course, it has replays from all the way back in 2021, which isn't like all the way back, but there is quite a few replays that come from these because we've been doing them since 2021, maybe 2020 in some cases, but I believe we started in 2021. So it's been very beautiful to see it grow and to see more people come on and share and contribute. And then also if we move into the inner circle, so we have a dedicated Facebook page, a Facebook group, I mean, and we also have contributors and team members that are keeping the finger on the pulse. Yosei and Mary do daily Muse transit posts. They also do interviews. They interview people that are members of the Inner Circle membership too. So you'll get to know the people that are in your community. The fourth line, the fourth stage about sharing, it's about finding the tribe you resonate with, finding the people you resonate with. And so it's important to get to know them. They also host a Go with the Slow live community gathering, and that's more for sharing and camaraderie and contemplation, and whatever is alive comes up and it's here to be put on the table. So that happens monthly so far. Not sure how that will continue, but it is coming up this Friday. If you join the Inner Circle, you can join that and share. Okay, stage 5. Stage 5, we're going to meet archetype 5. We call this stage lead. And the archetype, the leader, not super creative, but it's the leader. Woo! We can also call this stage express, expressing, bring it to the throat. Why? Because we are connected to line 5 here, and line 5 is connected to the throat. The element here is ether, and the realm, we're transitioning into the mental realm. So we went physical for the first 2, emotional for the second 2, and now for the last 2, it shall be mental. The purpose of this stage that we call lead and express is first to realize your sovereignty, harness your power, and express your truth. You impact the world through universal, far-reaching solutions. Now, we brought in the beginning part about realizing your sovereignty because it can be so easy in a world of many voices, many opinions, many things to wonder and be curious about, what do people expect of me? What am I here to be doing? What is their truth? Is that my truth? Like, when you can uncover the truth that lives inside of you, it doesn't matter if you're accepted or rejected. At this stage, it's more about being true to you and being sovereign. It's not about the tribe. It's not about the community. It is about that deep truth and purpose that you found within you. And because you found it, you start to harness the power that comes from that 5th line, that comes from that energy. You harness that to then express it. And when you bring it to the throat to express it, it's not to share, it's to offer. It's to offer solutions. It's to offer something to the world. And it doesn't matter if it gets received or not. But the purpose, too, of this stage is to call others to movement. The first line is connecting to the heart. But remember, the throat is the manifestation center. And so you want to feel that transmission. It only becomes a transmission when something is moving in the person that's receiving it. And that's how you can tell if you've realized your sovereignty, harnessed your power, and expressed your truth, is that there's impact. You impact the world. If there's no impact, then odds are you didn't recognize your genius, or you're stuck in the basement. You didn't create anything, and you're not empowered. You're looking to others for validation. And so you can feel the hesitancy in the message. Leadership comes from having the ability to blaze the trail, and it doesn't matter if people follow. Right? A leader is a leader because people are following, but I think it's more so leading yourself, leading from your truth, than it is leading other people. You're just at this stage too where things become much more transpersonal. It's not about you anymore. It's about humanity. It's about well, it's about the world. It's about the solutions. Did you want to add anything or around this? Because we did spend quite a bit of time trying to bring this one through too.
Yeah, there is a certain complexity that comes with the process because we are weaving and including more. So each stage is including the stages before. And that is why it seems a bit more complex, and it's also becoming more transpersonal. And here we are in the mental realm. So it's becoming more subtle, but also in some way more complex. And the important thing is to not get lost in the labyrinth. And that's really part of what this expressed thing is, because a lot of us, and you don't have to have a lot of fifth lines in your profile, in your chart, have that kind of blockage, because when we change to the mental realm and it needs to come out, that's all. There are so many ways, so many places where it can get stuck. And that's also why the purpose here is a little bit in stages within the stage. It's like, realize that you're already sovereign, because that's when we have gone through so many things. That can also be, oh no, I'm not sure I really played, I'm not sure I really tried. Like, there can be things on the way that don't feel completely complete, and then suddenly it's like, oh, I don't, the empowerment that the fifth stage is not embodied. But then to realize that it's nothing is wrong and there is so much power already, as we have dared to go through processes. And then wherever we're at, because still this is the heretic, it's not necessarily the universal truth. The solutions are going to be universal, but still, like, the expression here is still a unique expression that you can be burnt at stake for. So to dare to bring it out, and knowing that when you realize sovereignty, you have harnessed your power, you have started to express, the impact of that is going to be far reaching, and it's going to help other people. And it's not about saving other people here, because that's like the shadow frequency would be more of that kind of saving, and having to save the world, even if you feel like completely blocked in some other personal embodiment stage, or embodiment sense. And I think that's also for this stage where there can be misunderstandings and inner or outer conflicts, where the expression comes from not all the parts of you being together. Because for this to be impactful, it needs to be anchored in the physical. It can't not just be in your mind. It needs to be anchored in the physical. It needs to be felt, both in the kind of desire of experimentation, but also in the feeling of, okay, this is a truth that I'm feeling deep inside. That kind of feeling of the fourth stage or the fourth line. So bringing it builds on everything else. So if the other stages have not been properly explored, properly embodied, that's also why what comes out, the impact might not be very positive, and there can be a lot of misunderstandings and conflicts with how it's brought out.
There's mastery in this stage, there's mastery in this line, and it had to go through the other lines to arrive at this place where it can claim the truth it's found, and it can stand with it, and it can like put the flag in the ground to be like, I stand behind this thing that I said. And if you're wavering, then people can sense it. If you're saying, I don't know if I believe in this thing, you're not a leader, you're not ready to be in charge of that movement. It's not your thing. And so when we get to this stage, it's not about sharing to feel into, am I anchored into this truth? And is it coming out? And are people receiving me? I think you get a lot of the validation and acceptance, and like, there's things happening in the fourth line and the third line that really help support you to leave those behind, to get into the fifth line, stake your claim and say, I'm good at this. I know this archetype. I can share about this archetype. I have lots of lived experience with it. And I found solutions that help me work through the shadow, the gift. And I've tasted the city, or I know what this is like. And when people feel that you've embodied it, they want to believe you. They want to move. They want to do the thing you're telling them to do. When you get to the fifth line, there's a lot of that. There's an energy of like command. And then people are like, I need to listen to you. But if you're not in that energy of command, because you're commanding your own power, you're commanding your own sovereignty, you're commanding your own energy, and you're like harnessing this, it'll fall flat and there will be no impact, like Bella said. So in this stage, like, you may not get to this stage. You may not get to the sixth line stage. You're going to taste some of them, but over time, you get through this process and you start moving through the stages of embodiment. No one can tell you what it feels like to embody the archetype because it's a completely unique process to you. And so when you get there, wow, it's landed deeper than my mind. It's landed deeper than my heart. It's like landed deep in me. It's in the cells of me. It's transformed me. I've evolved because of this journey into this process. And everybody feels that anchoring, that sense of stability different. So, ways to lead and express. Identify practical and pragmatic solutions for becoming more aligned with the higher expressions of the particular archetype. Meaning, you went through this archetypal process and now you figured out, oh, some things work, some things don't work. This is a solution. This is a great solution. If it works twice, it's a pattern, it's a process. Like it works. It's a formula that has been proven. So then you keep proving that formula, like, oh, great, this is a great solution. It's working for me. Maybe other people, it'll work for them. And so then you start to share that. And you're going to express your solutions, maybe on podcasts or interviews. It depends on how you want to use your voice. It doesn't need to be so public or out there, but it does need to reach someone. So you can create a video, you can write an article, you can produce a masterclass like what we do on the subject. Write a book. You can also develop something tangible for others to use. Here, you're supposed to share your mastery and develop your authority. And that's why we create and publish things. That's why we bring it up and out. Something is making a mark, is putting something back into the earth. There's a legacy created here.
And I just want to say again, so important that this stage doesn't become a walking head. It's so important that the connection is there with the feeling realm and also with the physical. That's when we have anchored solutions that are going to work in the long run as well. And there can be a lot of that busy head. So whether you have an open head ashna, and think about things that don't matter and pretend to be very certain about things, or you have a very fixed, defined head and ashna that's maybe too narrow and forgets that it's even human in a body. It's always that spiral of starting at the foundation and feeling into the tangible, the physical, connecting with the body, connecting also with the truth of what it is that you're expressing, the feeling of it. Because sometimes it could be like a mental truth that is expressed, but how does it actually feel to be the spokesperson of that truth, of that understanding? Is it really anchored in a place of the heart and the love and the openness that, that we actually want things to be anchored in? Because this is to be for the greater good of the whole. That's really the genius of the fifth line. There's a genius in the second line that is physical and more personal. And then there is a genius in the fifth line, the fifth stage, that is way more mental and transpersonal. So it is for the greater good. And that's why it needs to connect to what came before it. Mm-hmm. And that's also, I saw that somebody mentioned the word coherence. So when you're doing this is when you're sure that there is a coherence, because mind and the mental realm is very fast and there are so many different impressions and we're creating worlds, right, with our minds. So in order for it to be coherent, that's why we're bringing in what was there before, so that it's still coherent and aligned. And then we know it's not just our mind or our visions like running away with us somehow. That's so important. Slowing the mind and let what really wants to come through, all the layers come through.
Which takes time. And it's not wrong to approach these stages in quote unquote incorrect ways. There's no wrong way to approach these. You'll find what's correct for you, but you have to try it out and you have to see, what is it like to be a talking head? What is it like to be a lollipop that is not anchored into anything in the physical? You're going to learn through this process in all of the phases. You're going to learn what it's like to share your truth and have it be rejected. You're going to learn what it's like to try out something and fail, and know what it's like to really dig deep into the shadow. Each of these are going to provide you with opportunities and experiences that are going to enrich your journey into the archetype. It's always enriching. Okay, these ones that are farther up, not a lot yet for these, but I am starting to do Portal Guardian interviews. These are coming soon. We will launch our podcast at some point. Right now, they are behind the scenes. And there's not a way to sign up for it yet. People are signing up like as applications, but I'm being very picky about who I am interviewing. And it is people that have this sense of mastery, and it tends to be people who have it in their life's work. So we'll be bringing you interviews of people that have some level of mastery with the archetype that they have selected. They've been really cool conversations. So those are coming soon. And those will be free. In the inner circle, we are going, well, we have an affiliate program. We are refining that. So a way that you can lead and that you can bring others into the movement is becoming an affiliate or an ambassador for this movement. You can also host a workshop or event in the inner circle. Those are things that need to have deeper discussions around. So these are possibilities for you to lead and show up and express inside of the inner circle, which I found has been very beneficial for people. We used to do something called Spark of Creativity. And because the space became intimate, became a tribe of its own, it made it easier for people to try out this hat of, I'm a creator, I'm a facilitator, I'm a leader, I'm doing this in this space. And so when you're able to do it in a smaller space and you have a stage, it helps you harness the competence and confidence to do it for yourself out in the public. So there's been a lot of really cool leaders and facilitators that have come up in the space to share their genius and their process with us. So that's definitely an opportunity. And some of the archetype ambassadors, the portal guardians, will be hosting workshops as well. So you can be on the lookout for those in the future. Right now we are in development of all of this stuff, but it's coming. And yeah, we'll be bringing you more leaders into the space too. I know that Bella's also bringing in Allison again to go into the goddess asteroids, and she has developed mastery in that area over time. So she's going to bring in her genius to share with you. And we brought in other people. John Rhodes did lunar alchemy with us before. There's people that have a mastery about them. And so we bring them in because we're all about bridging the gap and about bringing other networks here. Yeah. Oh, and also people that have shown up on the Walking the Wheel calls. What was the man's name that is creating the Lost Octave? Rob?
Yeah, Rob Comber. Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. It's so fun. There's so many beautiful creative people out there who have found their thing and gone deep into it, and they're sharing the wisdom. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to see that. Bella's going to bring in the last stage 6.
So this is the stage that is also going to bring us back to start the next process. So this is a completion stage, but also a leading into the next thing. So this is the archetype that we call the role model. It's line 6. The chakra is the third eye and actually also connected to the crown, even if we could see that as more than just the 6th stage. The element is spirit and the realm is still mental. And here the purpose: to embody your uniqueness and become a bridge to the future and a role model for those that are ready to evolve. You hold a deep cellular wisdom that nurtures the vision of what is possible for humanity. So if we were becoming more and more transpersonal in the upper trigram from stage 4 and then stage 5, including everything it was before, because that's what we need. The mind can go very far away, but we include everything. This is even more far out. This is including the possibility, the potential, the future. And it's also subtle in the sense that it's the spirit. So it's breathing every single cell of us. And it also really needs to include everything that came before, because here we really have that keyword of embodiment. So it is the wholeness of everything that came before, so that we can say, yes, we are complete, and we can go to the next thing. It takes really the embodiment of everything in all the realms and all the elements that came before as well. So it's that unified chakra when everything becomes together, and even we tap into the crown chakra, which is that unity. So there could also be that word unity here as well, because part of what's the other side of something, a stage that is connecting to the future, is that it's going to look at the other stages and feel like they are not really worth it because they are not there yet. They came before, and it's more interesting what comes after. So it can be a bit of that arrogance, or a bit of that aloofness, or a bit of that resignation, because we're not there yet. Everybody's not able to feel their cellular wisdom. Then I don't think there would be wars. There wouldn't be the kind of things that we are seeing in the world today. And then it's also this thing about being ready to evolve. And we are at a breaking point right now in humanity there, where there are those opt-outs, and easy opt-outs, if we think in a big sense, in a big perspective, in a quite objective perspective, which is what this line or stage is bringing. It's the objectivity of the mental realm, to see things for what they are. And it actually says that some things are higher frequency than others. It's about values here, and higher values. So it can see that not everybody's ready to take those leaps. And that's also why it has that a little bit of that harshness in it, to say, yeah, I'm a role model, but it takes that you're ready to evolve if you're going to be inspired. Because if you aren't, you're probably not going to be inspired even. And then there's really nothing to nurture together. There is no vision to tap into together. And the most important thing, similar to the fifth line, but even more because it has to be radiating from every cell, is to be in the body, be in the world, and not sit on the roof, or not think that you're already done and that there's not a next process, because this very line is the beginner of what comes next. So there, it also takes that humbleness to know that we're never done. When we're in the sixth stage, when we are in the sixth line, it's not that we're done. It's always evolving. The dream, the vision, the possibility for humanity is always evolving. It's never fixed. It's never done.
Yeah, it's in the transition. It's in the bardo. It's refining or simplifying what it collected and uncovered in the 5 processes before it. And it's getting it like deepened into the body so that it can prepare for the next adventure, so that it can go on the next journey. Because Bella said line 1 to line 6, and then we start over with line 1 again. So there is this bardo state, or this in-between land, where you're collecting and bridging the past and the future. So, which is also why a lot of people that have a lot of 6 lines, they feel like they don't belong, they don't fit in. They feel like weirdos, like aliens, like because they are coming from the future. And this is the state when you're walking the wheel with the archetype, you start to like feel into what's landing, and you start to feel into what's coming and preparing what's coming. But there are things, even in the short transits of 6 days, there are things that you have started to integrate and that you're going to take with you forward. And there are other things that just started to land in you, and it's going to take more iterations for you to be able to master that skill that came in during this transit. But if you're open and if you are able, you can start to learn from this cosmic curriculum. You can start to grow and expand and evolve. And I think that humanity is all evolving towards some future way. That's the way things go. We are evolving. There's change. Nothing is constant except change. So can we embrace the change that is happening within us and happening around us? And if we continue to grow and evolve, we continue to keep harnessing that vitality, and we keep living. Because I think if we're not growing and we're not changing, then obviously we're dying. And so sometimes we identify more with the parts that need to die than the parts that are new that are coming in, because the parts that are new that are coming in are a little bit scary because they're new. But you'll get used to them, and then they'll become second nature. And that's where the role model comes in, is it's walking it, it's being it. It's not this idealistic vision of the future. It's starting to live it. It's starting to be it. We're envisioning to then embody. It doesn't just start with, this is how I wish things would be. And you guys are so stupid for not going this direction. And I know the direction, but are you doing it? Are you going there? Are you moving towards the next one? It's easy to sit on a mountain or a roof and say, I know the way, but it's hard to come back down to the first line to start to build it. And so that's why there's movement between the 6 and the 1.
So when we are in this stage, the 6th stage, and the 6th archetype that is bridging us to the future, we could see it as we're grounding with the element of spirit. So there needs to be a knowing of spirit. Otherwise, you're not going to be grounded in this realm. You're going to want to fly away with spirit, because that's the purity and that's the values, that's the higher universal love. So it's really about grounding in this realm with spirit. That is the future. That is to become the role model of the future. That has to do with this archetype. And it's really when that happens, because it's connected again to the body. What lives in the body? What lives in the emotion? That's the soul. So with this archetype, with the envision archetype, it is to bring in humans that are a vessel for spirit and soul meeting. And I would say as well, when we speak about envisioning, it's all about this sacred union within. That when something is complete, it is because we have the polarities that are coming into union within us. So there's a different kind of union in the 4th line, which is much more a union with the community, a union with the truth coming across, a feeling that you're part of something. And here there's more than anything a union within, that is, in one way we can say, how the soul is anchored in the body, in the emotions, in the individualized being, and then spirit can come and breathe through every single cell. So we have a sacred union within every single person. And that is in that alignment that we're able to create a new world, because there's going to be a resonance with other people that are also in that union. So at the end of every stage, there's a sense of harmony, a sense of everything is in its right place. And that's also why we're ready to move on to the next stage, because something is complete. There is a gratitude, there is a harmony. The coherence of the 5th line, the kind of mental, has really coming into the body, where it just feels like that perfect mirroring of feminine and masculine, of soul and spirit, of awareness and embodiment that lives there and that anchors you. And that's where the spirit is becoming kind of the fuel for the soul expression. So that's really where the completion is. But that is also the starting of a completely new world, a completely new process. So, and I see Jackie writing so many things in the chat that are so cool, but it's only to me and Ashley. So I would love you to copy it and write to everybody, Jackie. So yeah, so what are some of the ways, more tangible ways, that we can envision? So discover an authentic way to connect with this vision of the future and this wisdom that lives within you. And then to embody that change. So if you know that sacred union is the place that we are right now tapping into, then that sacred union within self is something that you're tapping into and walking with every day. There's no other way for the 6th line than to becoming it here and now, because that is the inspiration, as bridging is that is bridging us into that 6th line reality. And that's also walking the wheel. We're training. We have a little bit of training wheels now for a few years, where we're doing this together and we're tapping in all the time into all these phases, and even this envision of what we can do, what we can become. And
Don't give up on the vision. Don't let the vision die inside you. Don't let the song be unsung. And if you are an advocate for sacred union and first within yourself, then what you are wanting to achieve inside of you will be achievable outside of you. And it just takes time to work towards birthing it into the physical plane. And that's what the commitment is towards here, is like, how are you birthing it? Because like we said in the first day, Bruce Lipton said, consciousness is creating your life experience. Change your consciousness, change your life experience. We are growing, we are evolving. Sacred union has to happen within for it out. You have to find peace within to find peace without. You have to love yourself to find a lover outside of you. There's things that need to happen inside to reflect outside. And that's the practical work that needs to be done to make what you've envisioned an embodied reality. So envision would be the first step, but embodying that reality in your physical vessel and doing it, moving with it in your life, in your world, is the work that you're here to do.
And there's also some kind of healing with this stage that can heal what sometimes looked for in stage 2, because stage 2 can be in that kind of passionate sacral dance, like, be this for me, be my perfect other part, I want you to be my half apple or my half orange or whatever it is. It's like, otherwise I'm disappointed, fulfill me, I need this from you. But when we come to the 6th line, we realize that everything is the union that we have within first, and then there is resonance on the outside for these true relationships that are truly sacred union. So understanding that the sacral can have an intuition that is beautiful of where to dance, and really we want to continue through the stages and include more, so that we also encounter that inner union that then is going to bring us different kind of dances as we are more whole within ourselves.
Peace out. Here we go. Just a little snippet. So the opportunity that you have in public and in the inner circle is the same. It's just to come as you are and be uniquely you, and to share your vision for the future, to be it. You're not here to claim being a role model. Even though this archetype is called role model, you're not saying, I'm a role model, listen to me. That's a surefire way to be like, don't listen to me. Let's not take that approach. But if you come as you are, that's good. So each archetype is a portal into your own soul and inner world. When you connect with them and are open to being transformed by them, you change, you grow. And as a result, your outer world changes to reflect this inner growth and transformation. Like I said, role modeling is more of a being than a doing. This is not something you take initiative on. It's something to arrive at through this process of embodiment. The vision for the future and the next steps will unfold and arise as you nurture the creator spark within you. Be the change that you wish to see in the world, and be the future human being. Be different. Dare to be different. We have arrived at completion. Is that simple? I know it's a lot of information, but 6 lines, 6 steps, the process. It's already built within the fabric of this reality. Things, the rhythms of the cosmos move with these 6 lines. It is so established. It is so developed. If you walk this walk, it's going to transform you. It is the walk towards embodiment. It's cool to think about it. I'm like, oh my God, this is so cool. But start doing it and you'll start seeing. You'll start seeing things transform in you and outside of you.
And you're going to see within your own makeup, there's often a preference of, like, some places it's easier to be airy, or it's easier to be slow if you have a lot of earth. And all the realms, the physical and the emotional and the mental and the spiritual, like, do you have a preference? And in anything that you do, how can you include more? So it's also this opportunity, similar like Ashley said with the archetypes. Are there some that you don't like? Are there some things you don't really like the emotional realm? You don't really like something in reality or an element, to be able to include that as well. So that's, yeah, there are challenges with that still. Like every year we walk the wheel with the archetypes, and also with some of these parts of the process is where there is like some friction with somebody else or within, that allows us to move through it and come out on the other side with more awareness and more embodiment. And yeah, we're never done. Like Ashley and I, we can also say, and with the people that work in our team, there are a lot of things that there are a lot of alchemy, catalyzing experiences, and you're never done. Like completion doesn't exist as long as you are in this realm in a human body. It just doesn't. And that's why, again, you can't try to be a role model. The only thing, like Ashley say, you can lean in and you can allow this to move through you.
Well, now that we've given you the foundations of walking the wheel, let's walk the talk. Let's do it. Let's do it together. So we've offered an opportunity to walk the wheel with us. This is a new thing that we're going to do. It's called Walking the Wheel Experience. It's going to be with the translator archetype. And the translator archetype is going to transit the 9th of May through the 14th. But the duration of our experience will be from the 8th, so the day before, and the 15th, day after. This is $23 to join. You get the course, the translator course. We're uploading more resources into it and refining the workbook. Everything will be ready for the experience and the journey that we're taking on the 8th of May. There's going to be an introduction call to give you a walk around the academy if you're brand new to it, to give you a tech tour, to talk about the schedule, to orient you with this process again. You're going to have the replays from these calls and the Monday call in the course as well. There's 2 courses you get in the bundle: How to Walk the Wheel course and the Translator Archetype course. Belle and I are going to be coming in live to do some workshops. We're going to make sure that you get all 6 stages of the embodiment process. This is to also help you orient with this process because we're doing it together. So we're showing you that we do it. Now we're going to do it together. I do, we do. And then if hopefully eventually you can do it on your own. You can start to become competent and confident in walking this process on your own. And obviously that might take time. So we'll have a tech tour and a welcome on the Wednesday, May 8th. Thursday, we encourage you to do the self-study. You're going to go into Explore, right? Where you're going to get into the materials. Bella and I are going to have flow and play, share, lead, and vision experiences as well. We'll launch that specific calendar and schedule soon, but you will be getting many live events to be able to help you dig into these different stages of embodiment. And hopefully by the end of the process, you'll feel like you have connected with these stages and you can continue to explore, flow, play, share, lead, and vision. You don't need to stop when the transit stops. You can keep going because if you keep working with this archetype, you are simplifying. You're simplifying your life. You're getting rid of the complicated. You are learning how to translate and communicate with these archetypes for yourself. The 23 is connected to the 43, which is like, it's a lightning bolt of insight, of epiphany. And if you can start to translate what these archetypes are trying to communicate to you, through you, with you, it'll make your life better. So here it's about learning this language. And what better archetype than to learn this language with than the translator, which is a throat gate. Woohoo! I hope you join us.
And then on Monday, we're still going to meet. So what are we going to celebrate? What's Monday about?
Shh. I don't know. Guys, we're going to meet on Monday. And we're probably going to have more interaction. We're going to celebrate. We're going to do some giveaways. We'll give away some courses. We'll give away some of the experience. If you already bought it, we can refund you. Please don't wait till Monday to like take initiative and do it. If you feel called to this, just buy it. If you win something on Monday and you already have it, then we'll do something cooler for you. It's here to celebrate the fact that you have a process, a tangible, practical process to walk with these archetypes. And also we're celebrating. So we're going to celebrate, you're going to celebrate, and gratitude. Gratitude is important. We're going to celebrate in the name of gratitude. Let's celebrate in the name of gratitude. We're so grateful that we're able to share these archetypes with you. We're so grateful that we're able to share this process with you. And we're so grateful that we're living here on Earth doing the thing. It's fun.
Yeah, I have one more thing that is connecting us to the bigger cycles, and that is that we did have the conjunction between Uranus and Jupiter in gate 23, and that started a 14-year cycle for all of us collectively, because it's only every 14 years that they meet. So by coming in to this experience and understanding that archetype, you're actually understanding in simplification and archetypal energy and all the stages of that energy for the next expansion of your next 14 years. And it's connected to Taurus. It's also a lot of like how to set up your life, your foundation for the future, as the shift also is happening with 2027, where we're going from a first stage, first line reality. So everything in the first line is where we've been. And now we're changing in 2027 to 6-line reality, where the only grounding we have is spirit. So if you don't know spirit and soul, and if you're not an anchor point in a few years, there's going to be no other grounding. Like, it sounds a little bit harsh, but that's like, I have a 6-line body and I felt that for a while. So that's where I always have to bring it in, because it feels so crucial to understand that is the anchoring point for all of us. So that 23, that course is also something that you can revisit many times, because it has to do with where we are. It's also an individual gate, so it has to do with individual empowerment. The same thing as Taurus. It's inherent talents. How do we bring them out? How do we build a foundation? How do we build a life that sustains us? How are we still in the natural? Because there's so much artificial. But Taurus is really about that fixed earth, the naturalness of who we are in that realm. So for me, that 23 is really a role model for what is to come. And there's no outer authority. It starts within, with your inner authority, with your own makeup and energy that you can learn about through knowing the archetypes and the body graph and how that geometry is for you uniquely.
Yay. Thank you for joining us for these 2 wonderful days. And I really hope that you'll walk the wheel with us in the transit of the translator, and that you'll join us on Monday for our celebration. And I'm so grateful. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you, Bella.